Hello, everybody. Let's see. Awesome. We have our participant count going up, which is always exciting. Thank you all for joining our Getting Ready with Mighty Cause webinar today. My name is Natalie. I work at Mighty Cause. I am the project manager that has been working with the team behind Giving Day 2025 to really get the website set up and get everything running. Our hope today is that we have just like a really great interactive conversation with you / training on how do I get started on the Mighty Cause platform? What are some of the things that are a little bit different from last year to this year, and really answer any questions that you all might have. As much as I have a slide deck to be able to go through, I'm here for you, right? So like I want to make sure this conversation moves in ways that is helpful for you. So if you have questions, I want to be able to answer those. If there's something more specific to the group of attendees today, I want to make sure that we use your time wisely. So some housekeeping items. This is obviously a webinar style conversation that we're having today, which means that you all are muted and your camera is turned off. Not that I don't want to hear or see from you, but it just kind of allows us to control the room a little bit easier as some of us are navigating working from home. Like you can see here, some people are in offices, and so it keeps things a little bit quieter. But that being said, I still really want to be able to hear from you and have an interactive kind of conversation with you today. So if you want to utilize the webinar chat to like talk amongst each other, maybe like chime in if I talk about something we were like, that's really cool, or like we did that in previous years and it worked really well for us. So like using that as a way to really be able to chat with each other. And then if you use the Q&A feature specifically for any questions you have, that helps me really be able to like separate chat versus questions. So that way I make sure I don't miss anything that's being asked of me. Depending on the questions that come in, if it seems like it's something that's like really specific to you and your experience, of course I want to answer you, but that might be something that we leave towards the end in Q&A to cover. If it's something that seems like it would be helpful for the entire group to discuss when that question comes in, I'll take it live and be able to answer it as quick as I can. So just know I'm not ignoring you. I'm just kind of running a tally in my head of like, when's the best time in the flow to really cover these questions. So, and then most frequently asked question that we get, is this webinar being recorded? Yes, it is. I told Will just before the call. It depends what version you're going to see on the site, probably tomorrow. If our conversation kind of derails and we go all over the place with some topics and questions you have, then I might put a clean version of it on the website later. If this kind of stays on topic-ish, then I'll put this recording on, so we'll see how that goes. But yes, the recording of the call today, as well as the slide deck that we cover, will be available on the Nonprofit Toolkit, likely by midday tomorrow is typically my goal, knowing that sometimes YouTube can be finicky when we upload. So, but yeah, so let's go ahead. I'm actually going to pass it over to Will to introduce himself and say hi before we get going.
Awesome. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Will. So happy to be here with you all. Thank you for making the time and join. If you're new, you have not seen my face. I'm the one sending email, so I'm happy that you now can put face to the name. Like I said, thank you so much for making the time. We're happy you're here. And like Natalie said, if you guys have questions, just let us know and we'll try to answer all of them. But super excited for this year Giving Day. It's going to be super awesome. And yeah, that's all on my end. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. So I think what I'm going to actually do is start by launching a poll, which is like how fun and cool of me. Oop, that came in on the screen. Sorry about that. So if you all can look at that poll and answer for me, that would be super helpful. So the first question I'm just hoping to understand is, are you representing a nonprofit that is already registered for Giving Day 2025, or are you using this conversation today as kind of like learning more about the event, seeing if it's right for you, and then registering afterwards? That kind of helps me tailor some of that conversation to what you might be here and interested in learning about. And then the second question that I have is whether or not your organization has participated in Giving Day in previous years. So you might be a new admin to the org, but if you know that your org has participated in the past, that's helpful. I have a very unique kind of set of experiences over here. I actually worked at the platform where Giving Day used to be run before, and now I work at the new one that Giving Day is being run on. So I have, I think, a nice kind of understanding of what you expected in previous years, what new functionality is. And so I don't want to tailor the whole conversation to people that have been in both places, but I want to make sure that if I can lend that expertise, that it's a little bit more helpful. So I appreciate everybody that participated. Rarely do I get everybody submit, so thank you so much. It looks like 100% of people attending today are registered for Giving Day, so that's fantastic. We likely can skip some of the slides that talk about how to register because you've already done that, so congratulations. And then we have a split, mainly I think like 75% that are returning organizations that are attending, so that's helpful. So we'll kind of highlight some of those features that are different from the last platform to this platform. And then we have about 25% that are completely new. So welcome to Giving Day. We're so excited to have you. And you are maybe in a better situation, I don't know, but you will only have to learn one platform. So there's going to be no kind of like rewiring in your head about what might have been different last year. So welcome, you're along for the ride. But thank you all for answering that. So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll dive into our webinar for today. I might turn off my camera just because I do a lot of like looking over here and navigating, and that way you don't just look at my side profile the whole time, but know that I'm here. And then when we do questions, I will pop back in. And Will, it looks like we might have had somebody else join. Does that person want to say hi or speak? No? Perfect. No. Awesome. Okay. Totally fine. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn off my camera and we will get started on our webinar for today. But again, quick reminder, please do use that Q&A feature. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. If you wanted to chat in and like say your name, the organization you represent, if you have participated in the past, maybe say how many years you have done it. Again, right, our hope is always that we make Giving Day collaborative, not only just for your community and for the donors that are giving, but for you as nonprofits, right? There's always a little bit of a gamification and competition element because it keeps it exciting and fun. But I think you all have a really unique, position to be able to collaborate with each other, be able to share strategies that work well for you when it comes to reaching out to donors and things like that, that we don't want to gatekeep, right? The more that we all know, the better, and more we lift each other up. So yes, please feel free to kind of chat amongst yourselves in webinar chat, but let's go ahead and we will get started. So without further ado, getting started with Mighty Cause for Giving Day 2025. So what is the agenda of our call today? Go over some of the Giving Day basics. We will probably skip, for the purposes of just this live call, we'll skip how to register since everybody that's here today has registered. So again, kudos to you. You've done the first step that you need to, and sometimes the first step is the biggest step. So great job with that. We're really going to focus today on how to build out your profile, knowing that we do have another upcoming webinar where we're going to talk more about like fundraising functionality in the Mighty Cause platform. Today is really about like how to register and how to get started with building your page so that it looks nice for your donors. And then we'll have probably a good amount of time at the end for Q&A, depending on how many questions come up during the conversation today. So first, the Giving Day basics. It's a 24-hour Giving Day campaign starting May 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern until May 8th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Always one of my favorite times. Midnight to midnight gets a little sleepy for everyone, so noon to noon feels really great. Gives you a lot of awake hours to be able to, communicate out to your donors, try to drive them to your page, and to be able, to collect donations and get your community involved. And then, of course, it is hosted by the John 116 Foundation and sponsored by the Focus Group. So you'll see a lot of that branding around the Giving Day website. How does a Giving Day work? Most of you know this because you've participated in the past. Some of you are new. So, as I've kind of touched on already in a bit of our intro, a Giving Day is really an opportunity for nonprofits to work collaboratively to be able to fundraise and promote yourselves in local communities. Some giving events that I work with are more centralized. So let's say they are like a specific county in a specific state. Sometimes we have giving events more similar to this one, where you might be somewhat local, but you also might have some nonprofits across the country that are affiliated based off of like a cause or like a shared sponsor or a shared group that they affiliate with. So you're a little bit more far spread, but again, a really great opportunity to spread awareness about your mission and the work that your nonprofit does. And like I said, working collectively to be able to raise money. What's great about a giving event, and especially something that's online, is that you are driving new donors to the website that might be able to see your page for the first time. So users users who aren't regularly getting your email blasts, that aren't receiving your, your leaflets in the mail that you're sending out. They might not even be on your radar, or they might not even be local in your community. All of these nonprofits who are driving people to the website mean new eyes on your organization page, and potentially new donors that see your organization for the first time. They read your mission, and then they connect with you emotionally and really want to support the cause that you're doing. So you're not only benefiting yourself by driving your donors to the platform, but you are helping to build up an entire group of nonprofits for Giving Day 2025, which again is really what we need to be able to work with each other and uplift each other and our mission. So again, just a great opportunity to be able to fundraise, engage your local community, and to be able to spread awareness of your cause. So what does your nonprofit need to do? Again, congratulations, you all have registered. Registration closes April 18th. So really your next steps are creating and customizing your profile on Mighty Cause, really planning your fundraising campaign and diving into, what are your goals? What are your fundraising goals? Are you looking at new donors? Are you looking at, do you have a certain dollar goal that you want to surpass from a previous year? So really taking it from like a mile high view and seeing what is your overall goal, so you can drill it down into figuring out, how do I plan and communicate leading up to the 24-hour giving campaign? We want you to promote your campaign via social media, email, in-person events, those types of things. Invite your supporters to participate as peer-to-peer fundraisers, which is something that we'll likely talk a little bit more about in our next upcoming webinar. And then, of course, last but not least, we want you to raise money for the amazing causes that you all, represent, and the programs that you are running. And we want you to be well-funded to be able to continue the amazing work that you've already been doing. So we'll skip some of these first ones because, again, we've already registered our nonprofit. But now that we have registered, let's talk about, how do I access my dashboard? So just in general, moving forward, and I've been kind of poking around the page here, but this is the Giving Day 2025 website. Should look very familiar to everyone since you said you have all registered. Once you have registered, every time that you want to get to the back end of your organization profile, pretty simple. You just go to the givingday2025.com website. And in the top right corner, obviously I'm logged in right now because I work here and I have to be logged in all the time, but you would see a login option in the top right corner. If you click log in, that's where you'll be able to put in your user information, sign into your account, and then be able to access your organization, your user dashboard. So it'll look similar to this. So you would sign in, and then you'd click on your name in the top right corner, and you would see your organization right here under this organization heading. So that's a really quick way to be able to navigate and find the back end of your profile. I will mention, because I gave a plug, that I understand the platform that you all just came from. So there's sometimes a common question that comes into our support team with admins that are transitioning from one platform to the other. I would just say, make sure that you're always logging in via givingday2025.com. Logging in this way, let's think about it like a visual example. Think about it as a door. So logging into the platform through this door, givingday2025.com, gives your nonprofit access to some fundraising tools for free, because you are a participant that is affiliated with a giving event. If you were to go to mightycause.com and sign in that way, you could still access the back end of your platform, but you're going through a different quote unquote door, which means that you're not going to have as many fundraising tools available to you, because the platform is recognizing that you're accessing your page from a different kind of vantage point. So my number one thing, and probably a common question that does come through for new admins transitioning to our platform, is just making sure that you're always accessing the back end of your organization page through the givingday2025.com URL. So that's kind of my first message to hit home. So once we have landed on our organization dashboard, and I'm going to hop a little bit back and forth between slides today and then doing kind of a live walkthrough, because I think for my own brain, I like a live walkthrough. I like to be able to see things and not so much just screenshots. So this is an example of what your organization dashboard looks like. So this is a demo organization that we have tied to our demo site. So anything that I show you today is going to be perfectly fine to be able to show you. It's not real donor information. It's just test information that we have added. But this is the example of an organization page and your organization dashboard over here. One of the first things that I want to call attention to for this group is that there are going to be some areas where you see this little blue flame that shows up next to a couple of the fundraising functionalities that we have. We have already gone ahead and made sure that everything that you need in order to be successful for a true 24-hour fundraising campaign is available to you. So all of those will not have any kind of a blue flame next to them. Some of these features are behind a subscription wall. And so the reason that they are like that is because we have a lot of nonprofits that actually utilize the Mighty Cause platform for their year-round fundraising space. And so those specific tools that are behind this little blue flame are more useful for organizations that are using us for, again, year-round fundraising, donor cultivation, those types of things, and not something that like you really need to be successful in a giving event. I wanted to call attention to that because I want to make sure that when you're on your dashboard, you understand that in no way is Mighty Cause like telling you that you need to pay any kind of additional fee or sign up for some sort of subscription plan in order to have access to tools that you need for Giving Day. Again, everything that we have made available to you is something that you need to be successful, and you can really just ignore these other pieces that have a flame next to them. If you ended up really truly like loving your Mighty Cause experience and eventually wanted to think about Mighty Cause for year-round fundraising, fantastic. You could always reach out to our team, but that's not something we're going to push you towards. So that's just, again, another common question about why can't I access this? Do I have to pay to use it? Those features are just things that we don't necessarily think you need for success in a 24-hour campaign. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into your organization page. How do we build out our page for Giving Day? What are some things that are new from, your previous platform to this one? Or for those of you that didn't participate in previous years, what is just new in general? So let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is our organization page. What I love about the Mighty Cause experience is that you're doing all on-screen editing on your organization page. So no more of this kind of being on the back end and entering in some content and then having to click a button to like see the front side of your page. Everything that you need to do and edit is right here on screen for you to be able to see, and you can see live what those edits and what that impact is. So on our organization page, and so this is the page tab of your dashboard, you see over here this little edit mode button. So if I land on this page and I don't see any kind of like toggles, it's pretty easy for me to understand, like I need to go ahead and turn on edit mode in order to make some of these changes. So I'll turn on edit mode up here in the top right corner, and then I see these little gray icons that are indicating to me that I can make some changes to these areas, and that's where I would click to make them. So very similar user, I guess, like page look as what you're used to, but a little bit more updated. So you have the ability to enter in a background image. And of course, we would love for this to be, this is demo, so this is kind of blurry. This is actually a great example of what not to do on your organization page, right? This is kind of a blurry image, kind of hard to see what's going on here. We recommend using, right, a high quality, engaging image from your organization. Do you run programming? Do you have events? Do you have, some engaging photos from something that you've done in the past? Or if you click on this option, we also have a gallery of images that you can select from as well. So if we can do our local files, we can do a direct link, we can do Google Drive, those types of things that you can go ahead and utilize. And then you can add a cover overlay to the image as well if, for accessibility reasons, you need to kind of brighten or darken that specific image. So that's how we do our header image here. Then very familiar, right? We have our logo. So our logos are a 1-to-1 square aspect ratio, which is very similar to, any kind of social media presence that you have. That's usually the same aspect ratio. Sometimes I have some nonprofits I work with who you might have like a really long, like horizontal logo or something that doesn't fit as well. I always recommend, I don't work for Canva, obviously, but I think Canva is a super great tool. You can utilize Canva for free. A lot of times nonprofits will just go to the Canva's free service, upload their logo, size it so that it fits in a box like this, and then be able to add it here. So super easy. And of course, if you need any help, you can always contact our support team to be able to assist you. The next thing that we have here is our theme color for our organization page. So this color that I select will be pulled into some areas on my organization page. Right, our goal is always that when donors land on your organization page for Giving Day, that they immediately have some brand recognition of who your organization is. So we're seeing an engaging header image. We're seeing your organization's logo. We're seeing your organization's name. And then we have this nice touch of having, one of your organization's main branding colors pulled into some various places on your organization page. So allowing that to pop and really look like you. I think we're in an age right now where we're getting spam texts all the time and calls and weird links to places. And we really are trying to impress trust, right? Donor trust, and making sure that they are landing in a space that feels comfortable. So if I'm on a page that looks like this and I see, a logo that I've seen before, I see the same colors that I'm expecting, I see an engaging image that I'm expecting to see, I come down here and I see some profile content that tells a story that I understand, I feel good about making my donation here. If I land on a page and I have, just a blank image here, there's not really any colors, the story doesn't have anything, odds of me giving a donation there are pretty minimal because I'm not really sure that this page really represents the organization that I think I know from my local community. So again, we want to really kind of drive home the thought that we want this to be built out with your branding so that donors know that they're in the right place and that they feel comfortable making that donation to your page. Some other things that I want to show you on the page are whether or not you want fundraisers to be able to sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers for your giving event efforts. So peer-to-peer fundraising, right, in brief, is the ability for an outside user to be able to come to your page, click the fundraise button, and create their own little individual page to be able to promote your organization and to help with your fundraising efforts. So, in this example, I come here for Paws for Ability. Maybe I, rescued my dog from here and I really want to champion their cause. I click fundraise, I create my own little page and I share that on my social media. So now, my grandma is seeing it, my sister's seeing it, all of my friends from college are seeing it. And they immediately know that it's a space that they can trust and want to be able to support because they know me and they know that I wouldn't share something if I didn't think that it was worthy. So again, a really great way to get your organization's name out there, to be able to reach new donors, right? Because like my grandma might have never heard of this organization until she saw my fundraising page. So just a way to really amplify your message and amplify your donor outreach by having peer-to-peer fundraising. Some organizations, if you are brand new to Giving Day and you're just trying, you have more limited capacity and you just need to do kind of more of the basics to be able to get through and see how you can be successful for year one, maybe peer-to-peer fundraising is something that you don't want to have on and manage. So if you want to actually remove the ability for people to sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers, you can click this little icon right here and then turn off the fundraise button, which will just hide that from your page. So that's how you would control whether or not peer-to-peer fundraising is enabled for people to be able to organically sign up, or if it's something that you want to have hidden. The next area of your page that I wanted to highlight is your organization stats. So if we click on our pencil icon here, you can control if you want the amount raised, number of donors, and or both to be stats that are visible on your organization page. I would say that it is most common to have both on and visible on your page, but we do run into some cases where maybe a nonprofit is really focusing on a donor goal for this year because they want to not only retain existing donors, but they want to expand and reach new donors. And so rather than have people focus on, and maybe it's lower capacity donors too. So rather than seeing 191 donors and maybe like $5,000, they just want to be able to highlight the number of donors that have come in because that's something that's most important to them. So you have the option, again, most commonly people do both, but you have the option to select which ones you would or would not want to use. And then for most of you, again, you're using Mighty Cause for the first time for your fundraising efforts. And so your start date for your calculations are going to be the date that early giving opens for Giving Day 2025. If you're on the call today and you actually have already used Mighty Cause before for fundraising, fantastic. Thank you. Welcome back. You would just want to make sure that you set your calculated date for the start of early giving through the end of, or through the start of the Giving Day, not early giving, but for when Giving Day starts until the end. end. And again, I'll go doing some manual checks to make sure that's all set. But our organization pages on Mighty Cause are really built to be evergreen. So you could use it for, some year-round fundraising in some capacities. You can use it for a giving event. And so sometimes organizations might have more stats here than what they really should be showing for the giving event. So we just want to make sure it started at 0. And when donations open for Giving Day 2025, that's when we start to see your tally tick up for your dollars and donors. The next thing that we have here is the ability to add a dollar goal onto your page if you would like to. So if I click on this pencil icon, I can edit my goal. I can set my dollar goal. Or likewise, if I wanted to, I could actually hide that section from my page. So that's another really neat thing that I enjoy about Mighty Cause is that you have some options about whether or not you want to highlight, a feature on your organization page for your donors to be able to see. So some of you might have a public facing goal, some of you might not. So you can elect whether or not you turn that feature on or you hide that from the public. What's great about this feature, and it'll be very similar for you who have participated in the past, is that this can be dynamic. So if I set a realistic goal at the beginning of the event and say, I want to, and sorry, you probably see this little error pop up. This is it's our demo site. So we have some wonky behavior that's not going to happen to you on your page, but just ignore that part. But some of you, you might set like a $5,000 goal, and throughout the day, you're like, oh, wow, like I've already reached that. And you can go in and you can up your goal. Or likewise, if you were really ambitious and you set like a $15,000 goal and you're halfway through the day and you're at $2,000, you might want to reduce that goal because you want it to look more reasonable for your donors. So this feature is dynamic, can be edited throughout the day, can be added, can be removed. So totally up to you how you want to highlight them. And then most importantly, kind of our main chunk of our organization page here is our About section. So this should look familiar to most people. This is where we want you to be able to talk about, what your nonprofit is, what you do, and then specifically, what are you fundraising for during Giving Day 2025? So what is a donor who gives to you during this 24-hour campaign helping your organization to achieve? We always recommend that we keep this kind of short and sweet and concise, right? We do have some nonprofits, actually all nonprofits, right? You all have a really engaging backstory, a history of how you came to be. What are some great programming that you are running in your local communities? Do you have upcoming events? Do you have board members you want to highlight? There's always a lot to be said, right? So my suggestion would be we use this About tab, and this is the default tab that users will see when they land on your page, but we use this to tell our short and sweet message. So a quick blurb about who my organization is, and then a quick blurb about what do donations during Giving Day 2025 mean for my organization. And then you can see up here in the top right corner that we have the ability to utilize an additional tab that we could name something else. So I could rename it to like organization history, or I could name it our board or upcoming events or something like that. And this is where you can highlight all of the extra information that you feel like you would want donors or users to be able to see on your page, but maybe it isn't the most front and center thing that they need to see right away. So again, by default, when I land on your page as a donor, this is the tab that I see, but I could opt into reading a little bit more about your organization. I like that because it allows the general user experience to be fast, right? They come to your page, they have that brand recognition, they read that message quickly, they make a donation, and that's all happening very quickly. But if I am a donor who's like, I'm okay with like opting in, reading a little bit more, wanting to know more about the nonprofit, I can click on this other tab over here and be able to read, more of that information that you've presented. So it's great for people that are a little more long-winded like I am, and we struggle to know like what's the most important versus like what do I think is important. So again, allows you to kind of break up content between two different tabs to present to your users. And then as we scroll down on the page here, we have a couple extra kind of sections that you could add to your organization page if you would like to. So this first one here is called Featured Campaigns. And so this is where, if you wanted to, you as the organization admin can decide which peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns you want to highlight in this kind of like extra branded called out section of your page. And so this section works in a way where, again, it's you as the admin admin manually clicking and then searching for and deciding which peer-to-peer fundraiser campaign is highlighted. So that is an option. Another area we have, which you can see down here, is called supporting campaigns. So this specific section is actually an automatic area where if you decide to show it on your page, by default, every peer-to-peer fundraiser that is signed up on behalf of your organization will just show in this area without you as the admin having to do anything. I would say that it's probably most common for organizations to use this type of section because it means there's no additional work on your end. You just decide to turn it on your page, and then as new people sign up, they get kind of shown in this area. This featured campaigns area is kind of a neat way if there's something that you feel like is like extra special that you want people to be able to see. I've seen some nonprofits utilize these in tandem. And so again, this section shows all peer-to-peer fundraisers by default. And then I've seen some organizations highlight like just their board member peer-to-peer fundraisers in this section because they're calling like extra attention to them because they are more closely affiliated with the organization, right? So totally up to you whether or not or which one you want to utilize, but just showing you how quick and easy it is to hide a section or add a section to your page, depending on whether or not you want that included. And then the other last area that I wanted to highlight, at least for the purposes of our call today, is this giving activity area. And so this is where it's going to show your donor wall. So, right, this looks familiar probably to most people. It'll show the donor's name and the gift amount in the event, right? So donors that give to Giving Day 2025 will have the option to decide whether or not they want to hide their name from the public, hide their donation amount from the public, or both. In the event that they decide to hide one of them, it would look very similar to what we're seeing here, right? So we see an anonymous donor gave $25, or if I hid my gift amount, it might look like Don Nolte, the end, right? It won't show you how much I gave. So they have the option to be able to do that. And then this area behaves and listens to those donor anonymity selections. So we have our giving activity. And another kind of neat thing that I like, and I think you can probably see this pop up. Sometimes screen sharing is like a little finicky on what it shows or doesn't show, but the donor activity wall is actually searchable. So I think that's a really cool upgrade from your previous platform to the one that you're on now. Depending on how many donors you get during Giving Day, this kind of preview of, I want to say it might be 10 to 15 that shows by default. It could take them a while to kind of scroll through and find their name depending on how many donors you have. So what I love about our giving activity feed is that I could come in here, type in my name and be able to see my donation if I wanted to like be extra sure that my donation was processed successfully and see that it's there. So that's kind of our organization page, at least as far as things I wanted to highlight today in a nutshell. I guess one additional thing that I probably should have said in this area, but it might be a little bit intuitive, is you have all of the editing options, right, for your About section. So we can bold, italicize, underline. You can make large headings, small headings. You can decide how you're aligned. If you wanted to insert and embed an image or a video, you could do so. If you wanted to upload like an emoji or insert a table, there's a couple just like additional things that you can add to your page. So yeah, all of the kind of editing capabilities that you had in the past, but with some more, I think, customizations to be able to add additional content tabs to be able to put that information in front of your donors. And then when we're on this specific page, so we can see my dashboard over here, right? And we have like our overview tab, which is maybe sometimes the space where you'll automatically land once you log in. But this organization page tab here is where we do our editing, right? We can turn our edit mode off if we want to. And then when we're on this section of our dashboard, that's where we can pull our URL that's specific to our organization page and the URL that we would want to share for the Giving Day. So you can't see it right now because it's not included in the portion of my screen share, but up at the top, I can see, you know, the full URL for my organization that I would share out. Perfect. So that is like the front-facing organization page. I did have a good question that just came in talking about kind of like the donation process and receipting. So you asked that at a great time. That really is probably the next chunk that I wanted to move to today. So good question. So let's skip on down to the checkout process. So let's look at your donation form. So this area should look pretty familiar for those of you who have participated in the past, but for those of you who are new, this is where you can make a couple kind of adjustments to what donors see when they go through the donation flow for your organization. So up here at the top is where you can decide whether or not you want to use suggested donation levels that we would put forth to our donors. We allow you to do up to 5. Again, we're always thinking about the mobile experience, right? And so if we do more than 5, that just gets really stacked and super long for our mobile donors. So 5 is typically the best amount. Most people probably go with 4. But what you can do here is if you select this pencil icon, we can put in our suggested dollar amount, and then optional if you wanted to add like a description about what that dollar amount means. Thinking beyond just the functionality of adding a custom donation level and the why behind it. Why would I want to do that? For those of you who have participated in the past and you have donor data to look at from previous years of Giving Day, or for those of you who are brand new to Giving Day, but of course, like you accept donations from donors in your own year-round fundraising, I typically recommend looking at, again, a spot in time of donations that have come through. So again, it's a little bit easier for folks that have participated in the past, but looking at that donation report, looking at what your average donation was for a previous giving event, or maybe you're looking at a previous calendar year, and then you build your custom donation levels off of that kind of average gift amount. So let's say my average gift was $25. So maybe I am presenting to my donors 25, 50, 75, 100, because I want to, right? I provide that baseline of that average gift, but I'm also encouraging them to make a slightly larger donation. And of course, what's really great is that they're always going to see this donation amount. So even if they're presented with these 4 levels and it's not something that they would want to give, they could always come down here and decide to just give, let's say $5, or their because that's the donation minimum for Giving Day. And then I see a question that came through that said, will we need a subscription to Mighty Cause in order to receive the monthly donation option? No, and Will, that's good that you're here, and that might be a TBD question to answer, but do you know off the top of your head, and if not, we can follow up with organizations, have we determined, that whether or not donors will have the ability to make recurring gifts through Giving Day, or do we want this to really just be like one-time donations for the campaign?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So this is just designed to be a one-time donation. So the 24-hour event, it's just designed for them to make donations, if that makes sense. So
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Will. Fantastic. So that's kind of editing those donation levels. Along that line over here in the checkout area is the ability for you as the organization to make some customizations to the thank you page that your donors see after they make a donation. So very similar to, the average like online kind of buying process, right? Typically you complete a purchase and then you hit a confirmation screen that really signifies like, aha, this worked, this transaction went through, right? But in kind of a nonprofit and fundraising space, we really want to use this as an opportunity to be your first touch point to donors, thanking them for supporting your organization. So this donation confirmation screen can include whatever message that you want to include. Again, we have those same editing options here where we can bold, italicize, underline. We can make text larger or smaller. We can decide how it's aligned. We can insert an image, video, etc., and be able to put that on our thank you page. Another thing that I really like about this thank you page built into Mighty Cause is that we have a button that you can leverage that shows on the thank you page. And so sometimes organizations will utilize that to route donors back to their page on Giving Day. So it might say like, check back in to see our success, and it goes back to their Giving Day page. Or sometimes organizations will say, have a button that says like view year-round programming, and then maybe that button links out to their year-round organization page. So again, this thank you page is not only like your first step in touch point and donor stewardship, but I also think a great opportunity to keep donors engaged with your organization by leveraging this button and kind of taking them on a path wherever you think is best for them to be able to go. And then last but not least in this checkout section is the donation receipt area. So you're representing a nonprofit that's participating in the larger Giving Day umbrella, right? So there are some components. There's a thank you message included on the receipt that you have control over. The overall message that's included on the receipt, as well as the financial information, is all being pulled in from the overall kind of Mighty Cause / Giving Day platform back end that's pulling in. But what you can do here is you can add in your custom messaging. So let's say this, just for purposes of our test, is my custom message. And whatever you put in here, if you click save, over here, you're able to see where that content would show. So that's immediately being able to see how that receipt would look to your donor. And then what I think is also really helpful is that if I come over here and click on send test receipt, I can actually generate a test receipt to my own email address just to be able to see what my messaging looks like. And I think that this is super helpful for nonprofits that might have, maybe you have, again, you've put in like some larger kind of formatting. You have put in, something else where you just want to be able to preview it and make sure that everything like looks good to you. So you can send that test receipt to yourself. So that's kind of the checkout form area. It looks like we have some good questions that are coming through about like donation reporting. So I'll show that here next. I think I answered, yeah, we had a question. Can we set up a thank you message to be sent automatically when they give with the text receipt info? So yes, that was just answered there. So yes, I think as a general reminder, right, you have two things that you can customize when it comes to kind of what the donor sees after the gift, right? So they go through, they successfully process their gift, and the first thing they see is this thank you page. So that's the messaging that we're putting here. And then automatically the Mighty Cause platform is generating a donation receipt to that donor. So not something that you need to manage or take care of, but that's where this donation receipt messaging will come into play. So that's all set. And I'll show you here in a second too, that you could, if needed. So let's say you have a donor reaches out and they say, I know that I gave, but I didn't get my donation receipt for whatever reason. Obviously the first thing we would have them check is their spam. Typically it's just in their spam. But you can always resend a receipt too from the admin perspective. That's something you have access to. But yeah, we have a little bit of time left. So let's go ahead really quickly and we'll dive into just some kind of overview for your donations. So we're just going to look today for our purposes in this donations report area. So again, it's nested under reports and then donations. And so this is where in real time, you'll be able to see the donations that come in for Giving Day 2025. You'll see by default, we have a bunch of filters up here. By default, it goes to the last 30 days. But if for some reason, again, for this year, we're looking at a 24-hour campaign. If you utilize Mighty Cause for year-round fundraising, or you're on the platform for a couple years after this, you can use this option to be able to scope to, let's say, like the last month, last year, last 12 months, or you can look at a custom date range. For purposes of today, let's see. This is demo, so it's always tough to know when donations might have come through. Let's see if I can find any from January to December of 2020. Anything test? Perfect. So here's just, again, some tests. So when I'm here and I'm looking at my donation report, I can, again, like I just showed you, you can time scope to be able to look at donations that have come in at a certain period. We can look at certain donation types. So I could look at online donations versus offline donations, or anything that might have been refunded. As you're on the platform for longer and have more of a robust kind of donation report that you need to sift through and filter through, this campaign type area will be super helpful, because you'd be able to come in and say, I want to view my donations, but only donations that came in during, let's say, Giving Day 2025 or Giving Day 2026. So you can filter by, the event that they came through on. And then over here, you could kind of look for donations based off of, a minimum amount, a maximum amount, or you can search just by the individual donor to be able to locate a gift if you want to. This screen that we're seeing here is really meant to be, again, just kind of a quick view of the donations that are coming in during Giving Day 2025. So I can see my donor name, I can see the amount, the date, what type of donation, was it given to, a fundraising campaign, or what was the name, what was the type, and then the email. To see more detailed information about that donor's gift, so again, like kind of full breakdown, any information that was collected during the donation flow, kind of a spit out of fees that were applied to the donation, those types of things, you can come over here and you can actually download the report. And so any filters that you have set when you're on this screen and you download, though, the download would obey those filters. So that's just something to keep in mind. Probably for year one, when you're in here and you're looking at your donation report, you won't have to have any filters in place, but every once in a while, we do have nonprofit admins that reach out to us and say, my donation report that I downloaded doesn't look right. And it's typically because they have set some sort of filter that they weren't aware of before they download it. So that's where you have access to that. And yeah, all these donations will show in real time. But that also means if you're on this page, you just have to like refresh and you'll be able to see new gifts that have come in. It won't like automatically update without a refresh to the page, which is sometimes a question that we get. And then some other things I want to touch on today. I see a good amount of questions that have come through, so just know that I will get to them at the end. I think I just want to get through these last two little components before we switch over to Q&A. But for purposes of at least our like getting into the platform and knowing what to do now conversation, some things that I wanted to show you. So if we come into this settings area and we can go into our general settings, this is where if you needed to be able to change your organization URL, you can control kind of the last part of that slug. I would recommend that this is something that you only do once. Obviously, we don't want to keep changing our URL because that's going to confuse donors with where we need to drive them. But if for some reason you have, you've claimed your page on Mighty Cause, you've signed up and fundraised for Giving Day 2025, and you have like a weird URL that's been assigned to you, you could come here and be able to customize it. Keeping in mind, little asterisk, that we can only have one unique URL per organization on the platform. So if you do receive a message that like that URL is taken, you'll just have to do something that's a little bit more specific to, let's say, like your local chapter. Down here, a section that I think is helpful is the ability for you as the organization admin to set alternate search names. So, sometimes we work with nonprofits where you're known as something in the community, but you also have I think a public name versus like a legal name, right? And you're not really sure how donors are going to search for you depending on like what they sometimes refer to you as. And so this is where you could put in an alternate search name. And so that way, when donors go to the search page on Giving Day 2025, no matter which version of your name they look up, your organization would pop up as a search result. So you can utilize that. That's pretty helpful. And then down here in this social sharing area is where you have some control over how you want your page to be shared when, let's say, they share your link on social media, or I share it in email, or I share it in Slack. So really anywhere a preview image would show, you can set your social sharing image preview. You can set a title, a description. You can add social hashtags, those things. So helpful for organizations that kind of want to be more on top of what their brand presence looks like and what kind of that preview content looks like when a user shares your URL on any kind of form of, social media or on the internet. Some other things in your organization profile area, I don't think anything like that needs to be changed for right now, but probably, again, the last thing that we'll end on, at least for today, is your admins area. So everyone who's on the call today, you said that your organization is officially registered for Giving Day 2025, which is fantastic, which means that you, if you are the person who registered, are already added as an administrator. However, it is probably very likely that not just you needs to have access to the back end of your organization page. So if we come into settings and then admins, this is where you'll be able to add new administrators to have access to your org page. I would recommend, again, this is year one, so it's likely that the only people in here are people that you have control over and people that should have admin access. But next year when we do this webinar again, or we have any kind of type of training, I'll recommend you just go through this tab and clean up anyone who no longer should have access to your organization back end. Again, always a super good best practice because we want to make sure that our donor information is kept as protected as possible. So really only people on your team that should have access to that type of information are the ones that you should grant administrative access to your page. So that really is kind of your org page in a nutshell. Really what we need to be focusing on right now, right? Step one was registering, which you all have done. Step two is really taking the time to build out your organization page, make sure that it looks good and is ready to be shared when the time comes. And then we do have, and Will, you might be able to remind me, I should have wrote this down, but soon, I want to say maybe in the next 2 weeks, we have another webinar, right, that we are doing.
Yes, March 27th, and I'll
Awesome.
send an email with more info about it.
Perfect. Thank you, Will. So yeah, the March 27th webinar is what we call Let's Talk Strategy. And so I've seen a couple of questions come through about, matching gifts, peer-to-peer fundraisers. So that's what we're really going to hone in on that next training. Today was more so just like a let's get in, let's understand what to do, because this is a new platform and we want to make sure that you feel like you have that you know enough to get started. And then that next webinar is really going to be, okay, now that I understand the basics of how to navigate and utilize my dashboard, what are the fundraising capabilities of the Mighty Cause platform? How are they different from our previous platform? And how can I utilize them to really amplify the success for my Giving Day campaign? And so last thing before I hop to doing a Q&A, I just wanted to again reiterate some of the resources that are on the Giving Day 2025 site. Thank you, applause to Will and Vanjie and team for building out these resources. But when we're on Giving Day 2025, you see in this top kind of header area called For Organizations, you can see nonprofit FAQs. And so they spend a good amount of time thinking in advance of any questions that you might have as nonprofit admins. So, general questions, questions about participation and registering, questions about how do I do what and where on my organization dashboard, and then, common questions that might have to do with donors and giving and things like that. So that's kind of one area. And then we also have our resource hub. And so this is where we have, our important dates. So our webinar that we have today, our upcoming webinar, March 27th, highlighting Giving Day 2025. We have some helpful, links to support articles about how to do certain things. Then as we scroll down on the page, we have some templated materials that are actually probably going to be added by end of day today. So that's hot off the press. That'll be fun for everybody to be able to have access to. If we scroll down, we have, again, some resources for participating organizations. So we're walking you through, what is step 1, step 2, updating my page, step 3, planning for success. So, what are things I need to know? How do I amplify my impact? How do I spread the word? How do I finish strong? So again, these are resources that Will, Vanjie, and I took a lot of time to read through and thoughtfully decide that these would be helpful for you to help you move through the campaign and have access to information that is helpful. So really, really can't impress enough, coming here, reading through these, utilizing the resources that we have. And then if we scroll down here to the bottom, you can actually reach our support library. And so this is all of these kind of support articles that Mighty Cause has to offer. So maybe you have another question that you're like, I don't really need to reach out to Will and team or Mighty Cause. I think it's probably pretty common. I'll just look in the support library. So you can do that. And then last but not least, before Q&A, just wanted to reiterate, you'll see this kind of banner across most of the pages on the website right now at the bottom, but there's a contact us area that gives you the information to contact the Giving Day team, but also information for Mighty Cause. So we are available 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, depending on where you're at. You can email us directly at support@mightycause.com, or you see this little question mark that kind of follows us around the front end or the back end of the site. You can click on that, and then you can click contact as well, which puts you in contact with our team. Something that I love about this little question mark is depending on where you're at on the website. So I'm on a front-facing page right now, so it's really just allowing me to browse some help topics and to contact us. But if I'm, in my admin experience and I'm on, let's say I'm on my donation report, I click on my little question mark here, immediately our Smart Support Center is presenting you with resources that are related to the area of the site that you're on in hopes that it can answer your question without you even having to ask it. So I see here, suggested articles, donation management and reports. How do I include check and cash into my totals? How do I navigate my organization dashboard? Versus if I come in here to my thank you page and refresh, it should give me a new set of resources that would be able to be helpful for me. So editing my checkout flow, my organization page receipt, those types of things. So really helpful kind of smart help center. But yes, you can always just click the contact button as well. So I really went off script, not going on our kind of slide deck today. But again, the slide deck will be available on the Nonprofit Toolkit for you to be able to read through. But it's just kind of a lot more like a pared down kind of walkthrough of everything that we talked about today. But I often think it's a little bit more helpful to do kind of that live demo style that we just did. So let me go ahead and I'll just scoot us through to that last slide for Q&A, and I'll make sure that our kind of contact information